Alright guys, so our first story, we're going to be looking at a man called Lance Kennedy. Kennedy is actually a British citizen, however, during this operation he was based in Spain and police believed he used his Spanish contacts to secure huge quantities of drug shipments into the UK, such as cocaine, amphetamine, heroin. And some of you guys may know already, Spain's infamous for being a hideout for British criminals who carry on their operations there. In order to break Kennedy's drug importation operation, the police watched and surveilled anyone who they thought was involved with Lance Kennedy's operation for around 6 years. So guys, that's a long time. I mean, if they're really onto you, they'll catch you, because 6 years is a long time. And on top of that, these guys have all kind of resources at their disposal as well. The National Crime Agency found out was that they use very sophisticated methods of getting their drugs in. The National Crime Agency, aka the NCA, had him under observation and his associates. Kennedy would source the Class A drugs and then he would arrange a Dutch pilot to fly the consignments over the southern of England. Helicopters would be loaded with huge consignments of cocaine. His pilots would register trips, typically between the town of Antwerp and the airfields in the southern of England. His cronies back home would book a rural holiday that would lie beneath these routes, so that drugs could be dropped off without diverting too far from the scheduled route, because every single flight has to be registered. So by doing this, it allows them to make drop-offs without arousing any suspicion, basically, and then get back on the flight path without arousing too much suspicion. Days before Christmas 2015, one such trip disappeared from the radar. After passing the market town of Havesham, Kent, it reappeared 8 minutes later in Eastling, a tiny little village in the middle of the Kent countryside, a designated area of outstanding natural beauty. Funnily enough, a man called Matthew Payne, who's thought to be a courier and organizer for Mr. Kennedy, had handed over £4,000 to secure a cottage, which was, funnily enough, in the same village 6 months earlier. So I think they booked it 6 months earlier to arouse suspicion to make it look like a genuine holiday. But yeah, it seems all connected, the flight paths to holiday homes. So according to the National Crime Agency, there were a total of 6 flights containing around 500 kilos of cocaine linked to Kennedy and his gang. The combined wholesale value of the quantity was said to be around £17.25 million, but the street value could be far greater. Police also stated that they were only able to pin down 6 flights to Kennedy, but they believed that the conspiracy in general was worth around $350 million. That's due to the quantity and the quality of drugs that was being imported. During the investigation, police uncovered how Kennedy was working with another famous drug smuggler called Jonathan Moorby. Now, Jonathan Moorby was no stranger to the law. He was previously given a 6-year sentence in 2004 for his part in a conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and possession with intent to supply Class B drugs, following a haul of 16,000 ecstasy tablets, cocaine, amphetamine, and 50 kilos of cannabis, worth more than £250,000. So that's $250,000, guys, in weed. That is crazy amounts, man. So after coming out of jail, he was then arrested for another 3 years in 2011 after he was caught with a bag with more than £115,000 worth of Class A and Class B drugs. Rather than laying low, the crime boss fled over to Thailand, where he carried on running his drugs operation and flooding the streets of England with high purity drugs. The National Crime Agency began to close in on Kennedy's affiliates, first off by taking off one of his pilots. On April the 21st, 2016, just days after 160 kilos of cocaine was dropped off a port in Dover, Neil Wattenborough was arrested with passenger Ricardo Vostenbosch as they landed at the Red Hill Aerodrome. The flight, which had been traced by the NCA and other agencies, had dropped off the radar near Yardley, Kent. There, Joseph Peel had his BMW with drugs from the helicopter before joining the M26, where he led police on a 100-mile-an-hour chase as they swooped on him. Inside the car, there were bags containing 43 kilos of cocaine, 60 kilos of heroin, and 13 encrypted phones, and the haul was said to be worth around £12 million. Wattenberg and fellow Dutch national Vostenbosch was jailed for 18 years, and Peel from London was jailed for 16 years. And a few months later, they followed up with his main drug couriers. So a couple known as Fraser and Clarks, who were making their trip from Newcastle, were stopped on the A19 in North Yorkshire. Inside their vehicle, one of the many used by the gang had secret compartments built into it, and inside was £210,000 of cash. A subsequent raid on the Wirral home led to a discovery of 16 kilos of high-purity cocaine hidden under a bed. The drugs were given a street value of 11 million, but perhaps more valuable to detectives were the mobile phones where they seized the husband and wife team. After cracking the phones, officers gained access to messages detailing the gang's movements and mentioning more helicopter trips. So effectively, because it's such a big operation, what police did was they let the operation go on to gather more evidence so they'll have a better case on them basically. So as a result, Moorby was arrested by a joint operation between the Thailand Narcotics Suppression Bureau and Interpol. Police were led to the drug dealer's hideout after tracking down his son who was visiting his father. Armed police pounced on his luxury villa and upscale holiday island of Koh Samui in Thailand, but Moorby fled on a speedboat to another island called Koh Mudson. However, he was eventually caught and he was sentenced to 15 years in jail. In addition, he was also ordered by the courts to pay back over £500,000 under the Proceeds of Crime Act. Lance Kennedy as well was eventually caught. He was on the run as well, but he was in Europe. He was trying to cross a border from Moldova to Ukraine, and he was finally arrested for 18 years for being the mastermind of an international drug smuggling plot. The judge argued if he hadn't pled guilty, he would have been looking at least 28 years. Alright guys, let us know what you think about this one. They had everything. Guys on the run in different countries, speedboats, helicopters, and stupid amounts of drugs. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us at Light Report again. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for regular content. So guys, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for the latest news. Until next time.